Alright, for this one, I'm going to have to talk about spoilers. So if you haven't seen Joker 2 yet, spoilers inbound, you've been warned. Joker, Folie, Deux was my #1 most anticipated film of 2024. So seeing all the bad reviews, it made me pretty sad. But I was optimistic. I went in there last night thinking I'm going to be one of the very few who liked it. The first Joker is one of my favourite films of the past few years. And Joker, Folie, Deux, Joker 2... has got to be one of the bigger disappointments of the last few years. There's definitely sparks. There's moments in here where you can see the potential for beautiful chaos and madness. There's definitely some good cinematography and some good visuals when it comes to the musical sequences specifically. But all the elements that this film has, it never really comes together to make a cohesive or a satisfying film as a whole. About halfway through the film, I was thinking to myself, why am I not into this? What is it about this film that is just not clicking for me right now? And it dawned on me. I don't think Phoenix and Gaga had the greatest chemistry as Joker and Harley, or Arthur and Lee. It's not that they had no chemistry at all. There were some scenes where they worked well together, but overall, their dynamic as Joker and Harley Quinn is not nearly as strong as you would expect and as you'd need a Joker and Harley Quinn dynamic to be on screen for you to give a shit about what's going on in the story. So that was the film's first major mistake. Then we get to the trial of Arthur Fleck and all the courtroom scenes. And all the courtroom scenes for me were a complete snooze because it's just the characters recounting all the events from the first Joker film. And they're just going on and on explaining all the stuff that Arthur did in the first film. It's like, film, I've seen the first Joker film numerous times. I remember perfectly well what happened. Can we just get on with this new story, please? And that took a toll on the film's pacing. That first half was just a slog to get through. Now, the last half, maybe last third of the film, is where things start to get a bit more interesting, but also a little bit more confounding, because Arthur decides to represent himself in the trial and he's in the full Joker makeup, and at this point he's decided to fully embrace the Joker persona, and for some reason he has to put on a foghorn leghorn accent when he's in court talking to Gary. I don't know what that was about. Alright, long story short, the biggest disappointment of this film for me is what they decided to do with Arthur Fleck stroke Joker as a character. So at the end of Joker 1, he kills Murray Franklin on live TV, and then he's dancing in front of the angry mob who are burning the city down. So you're thinking, okay, there you go, that's what we've been waiting for, the evolution from Arthur Fleck into Joker. He is now the Joker. And then, at the very beginning of Folie à Deux, he is right back to his old frumpy Arthur Fleck self. He's just moping about in Arkham, and he's not really acting like a Joker type person right now. He's just not the Joker anymore. So right away, that development's kind of been, you know, receded for the sake of trying to tell whatever story they wanted to tell in Folie à Deux. Then he meets Harley Quinn, who's enamored with Joker and what the Joker did, what the Joker represented, and he thinks he's now in love, he's got a reason to live, he's got a purpose in life with Harley Quinn, or Lee as they keep calling her. And for the majority of the film, it's Arthur wrestling with himself in terms of whether or not he wants to be the Joker, whether or not he wants the Joker to be who he is, and for that to be his identity. And that would be an interesting direction to take for a Joker 2 storyline if you were doing it to further him as the Joker character and for him to become practically Joker Prime by the film's end and just be the proper clown prince of crime. But it's the ultimate destination that is the real disappointment, so let's just get to it. Arthur's on trial, he's embracing the Joker identity, and then he gets taken back to Arkham where the prison guards do some pretty bad shit to him. And then in trial the next day for his closing argument, he's in the Joker makeup again, and he denounces the Joker. He says he's not the Joker anymore, he is Arthur Fleck. Harley Quinn walks out of court, and that's it. He's decided that Joker is not who he wants to be. And then his fanatics and followers blow up the courthouse, which for some reason they showed in the trailer, and they try to liberate him, try to set him free, but he runs away, finds Lee, and he's like, hey, we can now run away together, we can start our life together, but she completely rejects him because he's rejected the Joker. So Harley Quinn walks away, Arthur Fleck goes back to Arkham, and then the film ends with a guy coming up to him, telling him a joke and stabbing him over and over again, and Arthur Fleck lies on the floor, dead at the end of the film. Now, I've seen various opinions and takes and interpretations of it, and I understand the subtext and what Todd Phillips was trying to do with this storytelling. It's just, for me, in its execution, it just did not work, and I just don't understand why they chose to make a Joker film where Joker ultimately does not want to be the Joker. I understand wanting to tell a deeper story and a story that can be relevant in today's day and age in terms of people putting specific figures on pedestals and worshipping, you know, the wrong people and all that kind of stuff, and sensationalism amongst the horrible stuff that goes on in today's world. I understand all of that stuff. It's just, as a Joker film, I didn't get on board with it, and I didn't think the execution was all that brilliant either. Like I said, the first 2/3, it just did not really get me on board with the story. It didn't get me on board with the romance. And because Harley Quinn was in love with Joker and not Arthur Fleck, that could be the reason why their chemistry wasn't the greatest, because their love wasn't really genuine. But it just still makes the whole thing feel like a waste of time. And the guy who kills Arthur at the very end is maniacally laughing while he's carving a smile into his face, pretty much saying that that's going to be the Joker that Batman ultimately fights in this universe. So basically we have two Joker films seeing the transformation of a guy who ultimately in the universe is not going to be the Joker that everyone remembers. He's not the Joker we came to a Joker film to see, which just once again, just why? I can't remember the last time I was this disappointed by my most anticipated film of the year. And like I said, it's not terrible. There's some good parts to it. The musical sequences brought a bit of pizzazz to the proceedings. And as far as it being a musical goes, I had actually no problem with the concept of it being a musical. I was actually kind of intrigued by it. When they first announced it, I was a bit perplexed by it, but I was thinking there was potential in having a dark fantasy musical of Joker and Harley going around dancing and singing while they're doing sadistic, deranged shit. And again, those sequences were really well filmed, had some good cinematography and good visuals. It's just on a story and character level, to me, they weren't very satisfying or fulfilling. And the transition between the film's reality and those fantasy sequences was not always the smoothest. It's just like, bam, musical sequence, and back to reality. Joker 2 is full of frustrating missed opportunities, and I'm just so disappointed in the story they decided to tell. Je déteste Joker Folie à Deux? No. Je n'aime pas Joker Folie à Deux? Oui.